Hi, everybody, and welcome to Friday Night Flock Talk. I'm Robin Sullivan from the Leather Elves, and I am here with Jack Pine from High Red Bird. Hey, Jack, how's it going?
Doing all right, Robin. We are starting to get a little bit of a cold front. Yeah, today our high was only in like the.
The, did you block that out so I wouldn't have to hear that?
I said our high today was only in the low 70s. Yeah, it's chilly here. How about where you are?
Burn. Well, it got to be 27 this morning, and then it went up from there, but it did pour rain most of the day, and it was windy, so that things were blowing around in the yard. So it was a little bit enriching. It was good. But yeah, no, it's definitely not. It never made it out of, I would say, the 50s today. So it's a little bit different. Yeah, you know, um, I don't know. We're gonna have to look at what the demographic is of where people live. And I'm kind of thinking that those of us that live in cold places are eventually gonna get a little tired of this, Jack. I don't know. Not sure. As I look at who's commenting, I mean, you got all, Julie, Frank, Lori, Terry, we're all in fairly cool places. Just saying. Irwin, yeah, yeah.
Well,
I think
in all
Candy,
fairness, y'all got to laugh at my pain when through the middle of summer our climate was half humidity, half flying insect. So I'll take this for a little while.
all right. So enough about the weather because it's such a good topic. Jack, do we have any reminders tonight?
Right. So tonight we're going to be covering recurring themes in animal care. Probably a better way to think of this, if you guys have been watching Friday Night Flock Talks, is Jack and Robin's greatest hits. All of the things we keep telling you. So for tonight, we're going to go into greater detail into why we keep bringing up certain things, why they're so important, how many different things they apply to. But before we get started with that, if you guys have not already, we do these Friday night flock talks every single Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern. You can watch them live on the Leather Elves Facebook page. So you want to make sure that you follow the Leather Elves Facebook page, because if you follow the Leather Elves Facebook page, you'll get a notification whenever we go live. You can also pay attention to the High Red Bird group on Facebook. All of the videos are shared there as well. You'll definitely make sure you're hedging your bets. You're not going to miss out on any of this fun content. Now, we do understand that sometimes you may end up having to miss a Friday night. And I'll tell you right now, you will be missed. We definitely like having people be a part of the conversation. It definitely adds to the feeling of community that we're creating with this Friday Night Flock Talk series. But if you have to miss out, we encourage you guys to subscribe to the High Redbird channel on YouTube. All of these videos are put together as part of a playlist. You can go through, you can watch any of the videos that we have put together. And at this point, I'm going to be honest, I have lost track of how many hours of content Robin and I have put together for you guys. I stopped paying attention after we passed 50. I really like that graphic, though. That's a lot of fun.
We're
Uh,
we're kind of like one of those, the streaming things on your smart TV. We have that much content. You could binge Friday Night Flock Talk if you chose to.
Yeah, if your smart TV has the opportunity to pull up YouTube, you could actually start the playlist and you could have it maybe going in the background as you're doing your, detail cleaning before the holidays, making sure your home is ready for your family. So it's definitely something to do if you're road tripping, anything like that. If we cover a topic and you would like to see something in more detail, chances are we have covered parts of that topic in separate sessions previously. So definitely check out that playlist. All of those videos, again, will be up there. So you don't want to miss out. Now, if you want to know what topics we're going to be covering beforehand, you can go ahead and follow both the Leather Elves and High Red Bird on Instagram. We always post what those topics are going to be. We give you reminders of the Friday Night Flock Talk series on both of those places. Plus, we share a ton of other really fun content as well. Robin has a ton of photos and videos of animals using all sorts of different enrichment items. It's a whole lot of fun. I definitely encourage you to follow that. And then over on the High Redbird channel, because I am competitive, I have a ton of photos of baby animals. Now, because it is a little bit insistent, because we are getting closer and closer, Rob and I are both board members for the National Parrot Rescue and Preservation Foundation. So we encourage you to look into attending the National Parrot Rescue and Preservation Foundation's annual Parrot Festival. That's going to be happening January 28th through the 30th in Houston, Texas. It is a 3-day educational conference that features speakers from all over the world covering a variety of topics such as conservation, veterinary care, housing, enrichment, diet, basically anything you could think of that applies to your pet birds. There are vendors that come from all over the country as well. So you have a ton of different options there. It really is a lot of fun. Robin, is there anything I'm forgetting about Parrot Festival?
There's a fantastic speaker that does Parrots 101. I heard. Just saying. And if you
Yeah.
can't remember National Parrot Preservation and Rescue, National Parrot Rescue and Preservation Foundation, because even as a board member, I struggle with that. NPRPF works. Just saying.
And you can always just go to the website, which is a lot simpler. It's www.parrotfestival.org. So you definitely want to go and check that out. It's a ton of fun. It is geared for all types of bird owners. So if you have been a bird owner for 20 to 30 years, we will have speakers who are covering in-depth topics. But if you're brand new to parrots, we have that Parrots 101 session geared for brand new bird owners. We know in the last couple of years, there have been a lot of people who have been introduced to birds and who definitely want a little bit more information. And Robin and I are actually very happy that we can be a part of that resource establishment through the Friday Night Flock Talk series. Now, Robin, I know you're doing something pretty special right now with the Leather Elves.
We are. We're having.
You're not in your
I have to
circle.
duck over here. Okay.
Other way. There you go.
Not in my circle. Get in the circle. Wait, oh. Okay, I'm just gonna sit right here. Nick's graphics are awesome as long as you can pull them off, we are having a BOGO sale from the Leather Elves. We are doing, you order one, you get two. And it's for the whole month of November. You don't have to put in a code. You don't have to do anything. There's no magic that has to happen. Just order your toy and you get two. You pay for one, you get two. It's a deal and a half. And as always, any orders over $100 are free shipping. So, it's a good deal. Check out the Leather Elf, stock up for the holidays. It does not include any seasonal items, any Santa will be bringing them to your house. I've hired someone to come and do those. No, that's not true. The UPS guy, just tell him that he looks like Santa and it'll make you happy. Sorry. But it doesn't cover seasonal items, skewer kits, or advent calendars. Okay. Just so that you guys know that, or the emergency kit, because we're running out of them. We do have a DIY avian advent calendar as well. It's 25 days of toy parts in 3x3 boxes, 25 of them. And Jack is going to be doing a little video on each day starting December 1st, each day, so that you guys can work along with Jack or be as creative as you want. So, all right. I think that's it for announcement. Countdown, 13 days till Thanksgiving, 16 days till Hanukkah, 43 days till Christmas. It's a lot to remember.
A partridge in a pear tree.
And it's so good that we have Nick, because I would forget all these things. So we are also winning free toys for a year. Any purchases made between now and January 1st of 2022, will be entered into a random drawing. Any orders of $50 or more will be entered into a random drawing to win free toys for a year. That's a toy a month from the Leather Elves. So, okay, Nick, are we done? We're done.
Yeah, I
Okay.
think that's all
All
of
right.
our time.
So, Jack and Robin's greatest hits. We titled it that, and we don't want it to appear to be that really bad infomercial that you get sucked into watching because you like that one song. But as we were talking about what we should, do on the Flock Talk, we realize there are some things that we tell you guys all the time. And so, and it's not just birds, it's all kinds of animals. These apply to all different kinds of animals, but they're things that we say over and over again. And we picked, 5 that we thought would would come up the most. So we're going to talk about those tonight. So Jack, what's the first one?
Well, and I want to draw attention to what you were just saying, that this is not just parents. As we were going over all of these different things, these are things that apply to just about every type of animal care. And we actually wanted to get y'all's opinion. Um, you know, we have a variety of experiences with a variety of different animals. Robin loves doing enrichment for parrots. But she, if you sit down and talk to her, will also tell you about putting together enrichment for wolves and bears and great apes, which are, a little bit of a different challenge to, small citizens. And I have worked with a variety of different animals as well. So if there is a particular animal, a particular topic you would like to see us cover, leave us a comment and let us know what you would like to see, because we definitely want to hear from you guys. But the topics we're going to cover tonight seemed a great introduction to all of that, because these apply to every single aspect of animal care. And our very first topic that we wanted to cover tonight was actually the topic of the very first Flock Talk we ever did. The very first Flock Talk we ever did was called A Tale of Two Citizens. This is going back to when, we had energy. We were creative with the naming
Hopefully we still
system.
do. Yeah, our titles have become a little bit more mundane, but I think if people who tune in on a regular basis, you can see the threads that go through all of them. And it's not us just saying the same thing over and over again. It's us hoping that these things will stick with you. So,
yeah. So our
so
very
the first
first
one.
Okay. Am I doing it?
Go
There
ahead.
we go. I promise we've been doing this for more than a minute. Our very first recurring theme in animal care. If you have watched any episode of Friday Night Flock Talk, you have undoubtedly heard this. It is a study of one. When it comes to providing for your animals, I think it's really important to recognize that you are providing for that particular animal.
And I think it's important that we mention that you can do research on the species. You can do research, on prior information, from information, prior homes, if you've got a rehome bird. And I know, Terry's on here, and Terry does some breeding, or does great breeding. And I know that, so I can almost guarantee you, if Terry were to chime in here, she would let us know that all of her blue crowns are not all the same. I know from conversations that she and I have had that different ones enjoy different things, interact differently, respond differently. And that's why we always say it's a study of one.
Right. And I think it's really important for people to remember that every single aspect has the potential to be different for you. So I have blue crowns, and I just like we were talking about the differences in weather that people are experiencing across the country. Because of those differences in weather, I'm willing to bet there are differences in what times of year our birds are thinking it is appropriate to be breeding, what types of foods. Maybe people in higher or rather colder areas are going to have birds that desire higher calorie food items because I mean, for all of us, when it gets a little bit chilly, don't we all crave those, high calorie comfort foods? Um, you know, Animals do the same thing. They want to make sure that they have the body condition that they need to get through a cold winter. And, you know, Robin, for an animal up where you are, that colder winter is going to be a lot colder than my cold winter. Um, but
It's true.
but
And I
also
think
things
too,
like
go ahead.
Also, things with how we provide for our individual birds, how many birds we have as part of our collection, the time that we have to dedicate to things like enrichment and diet prep and training. All of those different factors are going to have an impact on our birds, not just the differences in the birds themselves, which are plentiful.
And I think too, it's a matter of looking at the situation, adapting to that situation, and gearing your expectations too. Because we've had situations where Jack and I tried to give you guys the optimum scenario. So the optimum situation. This is what you're going to shoot for. This is, if it were a perfect world, here's what we would suggest. Here's what, we can strive for. But that doesn't mean that you beat yourself up, or my animal, my bird, my animal doesn't do that. And it's not, there's something wrong. When we talk about training, one bird to the next, even if it's the same trainer, one bird to the next is going to respond differently. You find that, you know, maybe Widget loves walnuts. Okay. So awesome. They love walnuts. This is what I'm going to use for all my conures because they like walnuts. No. That would be like saying, I love milk chocolate. So of course, Jack's a trainer and I'm a trainer and we do flock talk together. So Jack must love milk chocolate. Is milk chocolate your favorite?
Jack actually prefers dark chocolate.
See? So it's a study of one. It's true. And you've got to think of it in those terms and make sure that your expectations don't get out of line because well, it's like when you're a parent. Jack, as a human parent, not necessarily an animal parent, um, you look at the kid down the street and you say, well, he's already doing this and he's already doing that. And well, how come, shouldn't Johnny be doing that? And it's like, no, all of it is a study of one.
Right. And another thing that I think people sometimes forget about is our animals change over the course of their life. So
Mhm.
we can't even just say that your animal is not the same as the animal down the street. Your animal is not the same as your animal a year from now or a year ago. Um, Obviously, as our birds get older, maybe you have to face issues that weren't issues when they were younger. Things like arthritis can become an issue for older birds. But even when we avoid things like that, one of the best ways I think to think of it is like with toddlers and their favorite foods. I think a lot of people who have interacted with toddlers have seen that you go to feed a toddler, and on Tuesday, carrots are their absolute favorite food. And on Wednesday, carrots are their absolute favorite food. And on Thursday, they hate carrots. They have never liked carrots. What is wrong with you? Why are you offering them carrots? I've seen the same things with animals where they change their preferences for certain food items, for certain trainers, for certain forms of enrichment. They have opinions on all of those things, and those opinions can change. What do you think, Robin?
No, you're absolutely right. And I think too, sometimes we'll hit upon, say a reinforcer that really works, and we'll inundate our animal with that reinforcer, and that's they get tons of it because they love it. And okay, you want your birds to have the best quality of life they can. So if you find something that really works, you're going to keep using it, and then all of a sudden, yeah, no, I don't want that. And it's that saturation point that our birds hit. And you've got to think about that. And you've also got to think about that change in an animal from Julie's bird has changed in the last 3 days. But you've got to think about when that change happens, that's why we also suggest that you don't use labels. So, he's a screamer, he's a biter, he's a whatever. Um, that label can stick with them and they may change as time goes on. And so you want to remember that you need to look at not only is a study of one, but it's a snapshot.
Yeah,
So
I think that's a great way to think of it. So that is why we are going to constantly we give you ideas for things, but you're going to need to tailor those ideas to your individual bird, to your individual situation. And if we come up with something, if there's a general consensus on something that won't work for your bird, that there is merit in that. You are the one that interacts with that bird, you see that bird, you have to pay attention to that individual bird, not just what it should be, what it's supposed to be, but what that bird is. Robin, I think that idea of paying attention to that snapshot of the bird, what it currently is, because it's probably going to change and you can have an impact on that change. I have taken in birds that were aggressive and worked with them to where they were willing participants in their training. I've taken in birds that were fearful, worked them through that to where interacting with people is not stressful, or not the same level of stressful. You can definitely have a role in shaping that change, but you're only going to accomplish that by paying attention to your individual bird, tailoring your plan and your approach for that individual. And I keep saying bird, that individual animal. This approach is going to be important for any animal that you are working with. You need to remember that it is that one animal.
yeah, no, you're definitely right. And I think that we need to, so that's a big one for us, the study of one, and that snapshot perspective. And one of the things that goes along with that is that animal ownership, for lack of a better term, is a very fluid situation. So if you go into it and you're really rigid about things, most animals are not going to respond well to a rigid approach. You've got to kind of be ready to, go with the flow, and okay, things are different today. And if it's not because of an illness or something, you rule out all the bad things. It's just, okay, it's a little different today. The animal's responding differently. You need to respond in kind. So I think it's a matter of you have to be comfortable with that and go with, okay, for this guy, this is what's going to happen today. For this guy, that's what's going to happen today. And it's a matter of today. Yes, you can get up in the morning and be like, okay, here's how it's going to go. You're dealing with living creatures. So you've got to be prepared for, hey, everything went sideways and we need to adapt. All right. So there's another phrase that we use all the time, Jack. And people might be sick of it, but what about safety first?
I think safety first is incredibly important, and I think it can be a little intimidating, a little bit daunting to try to think about all of the ways to provide for the safety of your bird. But I think at the end of the day, it's not rocket surgery. It's going through and finding those.
I
You
think
know
you
we had to
got
find
Nick
ways
off
to work
guard.
this in. Um, you know, safety is about just providing the best possible care for your animal. Um, to me, I think it's really important for people to recognize that whenever you take an animal into your home and do anything with them, there is always going to be some level of risk. Doing anything, changing anything, providing anything does present some level of risk. So I think it's just important for animal owners to recognize that risk and do what they can to manage it.
Mhm. Yeah, it's not a matter of completely avoiding the risk. I think that's, we get hung up sometimes with people and it's, "Oh no, I can't do that. Oh no, I can't do that. Oh no." And by the time you're done, you might as well have the bird in or the animal in a room with nothing because that's and even then, they could walk into the wall or fly into the wall and so you've got to be willing to take some risk but not outrageous risk. It's a matter of balancing the benefits and the risks, and that's your responsibility, but you've got to keep that safety in mind. There are so many different places that we need to consider safety. So enrichment starts out
Yeah.
safe and then suddenly not so safe.
For me, one of the most important ones, one of the ways that I try to drive home that people think about providing for their animals is quarantining new animals. Quarantining new animals is a best practice. That is what you should be doing whenever you get in any kind of new animal, no matter what kind of animal it is. And if you don't have a quarantine plan in place, talk to your veterinarian and figure out what that plan should be. But quarantining is designed to catch any parasites, bacterial infections, viral infections, disease, anything that could be possibly transmitted from one animal to the other, catching it before it spirals out of control and is then present in multiple animals. Because it's a lot harder to treat multiple animals than it would be to treat one.
So I'm assuming Terry's referring to that it's not if, but when you will get bit, that safety will bite you in the backside at some point in time. The bite sound, that's new, Nick. Thank you. Um, but quarantine, that's one of the ones that I think Jack and I are not going to budge on. That it's not something that we're willing to compromise on. It needs to happen. And so, along with the whole safety in general, quarantine should be a subset that's always going to happen. Terry says she quarantines after one's been to the vet. It's a great idea. You just need to put those practices in place and have a plan for how you're going to manage that. So quarantine enrichment, toys that you feel are safe. You've determined that, okay, this is safe, and there are giant air quotes around safe for my bird or my animal, and then you provide it and it gets a little tattered or it gets a little beat up and it's not safe anymore. You need to remove it. With training, you need to be aware of, what are the parameters, and that's a matter of being very observant as to what's going on so that safety is important. What do you think about that, Jack, with training?
Yeah, I think with training, you have to make sure that you are managing that level of safety. That is something that I have to do every single day with a varied collection of animals. And I kind of want to go back to Terry's point that because I know we were talking about, if you're not managing that safety, it's not a question of if, but when you will get bit. You have to make
Right.
sure you're paying attention to those safety issues. When it comes to your animals themselves, um, I think you have to work, you have to provide for those things, you have to manage that safety, you have to pay attention. When it comes to possibly being bit by your animals, if you are managing that safety appropriately, um, I would say this is something I have talked to multiple people about before. I am not one of those people who believes that you have to take the bite, or getting bit by an animal is inevitable. I think getting bit by an animal is a choice. You put yourself in that situation where you push the animal past where their limits were. Maybe you decided, I really want to get this behavior and I'm working to train this behavior. And maybe the animal is making it clear, I'm not really ready to go to that level. And you pushed it. You have to make sure that you're paying attention to any kind of safety in those situations, because it's definitely manageable. It's a question of what you're signing up for and what you're paying attention to. What do you think, Robin?
I'm with you 100% on that. And I feel like it frustrates me when people do the battle wounds, look, I got this and I got this and I look at this scar over here and it got me up here on the ear. That doesn't prove that you're a great bird owner, that you can handle those birds. And I know Terry doesn't show off her battle wounds like that. It's really it is a choice, and the answer, as far as safety is concerned for you and your animal, it's a matter of that, again, that observation and reading that body language and knowing when to take that step back and when to move forward. And it's really in your control. And the other comment that makes me crazy is I never saw it coming. He bit me out of the blue. Nope,
Uh,
not believing it.
Yeah, I think one, learning to pay attention to your animals is incredibly important. Eva just pointed out that when you're training your animals, your focus needs to be on them, their focus should be on you. If you lose that, that safety is going to be compromised. And I think that's a really important point. And I don't want to harp on this, but, you know, that idea of bites being inevitable, injuries being inevitable, there are a couple of reasons I don't believe in it. One, I just don't believe that it's true. But also, as far as I'm concerned, that shouldn't be the kind of relationship you're striving to have with your animal. And I'm pretty sure Robin feels the same way. We have been
Mhm.
working for over a year. We have put together hours upon hours of content trying to help people have better relationships with their animals. And I don't think we would be doing that if we felt that that was the only way to get things done. If yeah, you're going to get bit, you're going to get hurt. I don't think that needs to happen, and I just think that's a really important point. And again, any animal, paying attention to that situation, paying attention to that individual animal is going to be in both your best interest and the best interest of that animal.
Yeah, that's kinda like the question, "Does he bite?" Yeah, he does. But if you know what you're doing and you're careful, you don't have to deal with that. So, yeah, there's so much that goes into safety. And, another issue or another topic that comes up with safety is, appropriate housing and making sure that, it's not your bird can't get out, your animal can't get out, that it's, secure, that if you can swing it, that you've got, if you've got an outdoor aviary, that you've got secondary containment so that there's a space in between the door that closes the aviary and the door that you go in and out of, a little, you know, it can be a tiny space, but as long as there's that secondary closure that your animal's not going to get out, um, and that the housing is in good shape. I mean, that's the other thing. You want, if you're caging your enclosure to be in the best shape it can be, clean and not, falling down or pieces sticking out. Um, how do you manage safety at the farm, Jack, when you're talking about housing?
So as we're hitting on this topic, I feel like it all this also ties into that study of one topic. And
Yeah.
all of these are probably going to string together. There is a reason why these are Jack and Robin's greatest hits. So as we're talking about different types of housing, yeah, there we go. It's really important to recognize that no matter what your housing choice is, whatever you go with, there are going to be pros and cons to that. So if you have an animal that's inside, you're going to have to worry about things like, cleaning chemicals that we use to clean our homes can be an issue. The overabundance of electrical appliances that birds could potentially get into, managing that. House plants. A lot of house plants are toxic. They're going to be things that we want to avoid. Now, because I live where, we're experiencing chilly 70-degree winter weather, I I know you can hate me a little bit. Um, I have a lot of animals that have outdoor housing. So there are a couple of things that we have to do to pay attention to that. Things like that secondary containment. Not only do I have secondary containment catch rooms on all of my bird enclosures, but we'll also use things like hanging chain in the doorway, which is one more obstacle. Um, Usually you want to think about that nothing is completely foolproof. So you definitely want to think about things. What can I do to help this situation? My large walk-through aviary has a snake fence at the perimeter of it to keep snakes from getting into it. We utilize things like peafowl in that enclosure to control rodent populations. We utilize things like an appropriate feeding schedule. Food does not get left in there continuously because that would be an attractant for rodents. These are things that we have to pay attention to. My birds in that walk-through aviary get checked for parasites more frequently than a bird living in a home would because they're going to be exposed to things more often. So there are going to be things that you can do to manage the safety of your housing situation, whatever your housing situation may be. But the things that you're going to need to do are going to need to be different. So that's why I say it really ties to that study of one. You need to figure out what you need to do to provide that safety for your individual bird or
Right.
animal.
Okay. So safety, safety, safety. Jack, what's the next one on our list? What's our next top hit?
um, our next topic is
Like
Nick
a
is
rocket
having.
to the top of the charts.
Oh, who gave Nick a soundboard? He's having entirely too much fun with the sound effects.
It's a good thing.
I know, right? It's fine. It's all rainbows and unicorns.
It
Well, our
is.
next topic that we wanted to cover is record it. I,
I like it.
yeah, yeah. It's really simple, and it actually applies to a couple of different things. So, first of all, if there is anything you are noticing that is abnormal, strange, a little bit different, record it. And you can record it in whatever method works best for you. I like to keep records for my animals in Google Docs that I can then access on my phone. So I can pull up an individual record for an animal, type in a little note right there. Robin, I know that you are a fan of pen and paper.
I am a fan of pen and paper, and it's because I'm old, and I can't find things in Google Docs. But that's how my car horn on my first car sounded. But whatever record keeping method works for you, I think there should be, you pen and paper works for me, but I also think there should be a visual, like a video record of things. So because that's when you can review things. If you record, something different's going on, or things just don't look right, or a training session, then you can go over it multiple times. Sometimes it takes watching a video clip 10 times before you go, that's what was going on. And I think, that's part of that record it piece is that you've got that to kind of go back to.
Yeah, so you have a wide variety of different ways to document behavior, document issues at your disposal. And I definitely encourage you guys to use them because I will tell you right now, I have never encountered a veterinarian who said, "Oh, no, 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 that is way too much information." Any bit of
Yeah.
information you can provide for your animal could be potentially helpful in helping your veterinarian diagnose a problem, diagnose uh, something that is going on with your animals. And again, slight changes, a change to anything could be potentially indicative of the onset of a problem. I'll tell you guys right now, zookeepers take a lot of notes. There is some shorthand to make those notes a little bit easier to manage, and delta or change is the single most used piece of shorthand for zookeepers. If there is a change in body condition, appetite, attitude, weight, interaction with particular items, interaction with different animals, socialization, uh, change in color, texture, odor, consistency, or frequency of droppings. All of these are things that professional animal caretakers are going to be paying attention to. All of these changes are worth noting.
And, by recording things, you can also, if it's a medical issue and something's going on, the animal's just a little off, a little different today, and maybe tomorrow things look much better. If you still have some concerns, talking to your vet and saying, "Look, this was happening 2 days ago, and he was fine today, but I think it's happening again." You've got documented evidence of what was going on. And as you get further and further away from a situation, maybe something happened 3 days ago and you videotaped it and you said, "Okay, I'm gonna hold on to that information. He seems fine." But then it happens in a week or, 4 days later. You don't have to search your memory and try to explain it to the veterinarian and, say, "Oh, it's doing this, it looked like this," because you can't completely explain. And there may be something else, that exactly, Lori, if they won't do it while they're there. And there may be something that you've noted a little bit of change, but maybe there's something that the vet can pick up that you completely missed, that's something that they've seen before.
Yeah, I think when you're bringing information to a veterinarian or a behavior consultant, whatever issue you may be having, you definitely need to pay attention to what you can bring to them. And objective information is going to be great. A video of your animal doing a particular behavior doesn't have bias. It doesn't have your interpretation of what that animal is doing. Instead, that vet or that behavior consultant can see what is going on. One of the things that Robin and I like to suggest you get on your animals regularly is weight, because as any of us who have stood on the bathroom scale at home can tell you, it doesn't lie. It is going to tell you what it's going to tell you, whether or not you want to hear it. I Nick, that's rude. Um, no, paying attention to things like weight, those objective bits of information are going to be really, really important. But I also do want to make sure people know that subjective information, your feeling that an animal isn't acting right, it's not doing what it normally does, it's not doing what you expect it to do in a situation, that information is worth bringing to the attention of a vet, a behavioral consultant, whoever you are reaching out to try to figure out a problem.
And, from the perspective of behavior consulting, one of the things that comes up is, well, he was doing this and it was kind of like this and sort of. If you can see it as the consultant, if the consultant can see what's going on, it's much easier to make suggestions on different things to try. Yep, the video is unbiased. It doesn't reflect your fears. It's not, it could be this, it could be that. And it also, when we talk about recording things, we talk about recording your training sessions. You will see flaws when you're in your training. There, I don't know anybody that says, "Oh, my training is always spot on perfect." Well, I do know those people, and their birds are usually not very well behaved. But you want to think about, okay, what am I doing? And sometimes just having that camera on your interactions, you can see if there's something, if there's a sudden change in behavior with your animal, maybe there was a change in you as well that you've internalized and you're not sure. You haven't, you may not be acknowledging that it's partially you as well.
Yeah, I think recording a training session is one of the best ways to help you develop your skills as a trainer. And even if you are an experienced trainer, to help get you on track. Um, I I have no problem freely admitting that when it comes to training animals, I train animals every single day. It is something that I'm pretty confident in, that I'm pretty comfortable doing. But I would say training for me is like driving an older car. There are some days where I don't have the best fuel economy. There are some days where maybe it pulls a little to the right. And there are some days where the check engine light is on. So, having that opportunity to watch your training session, you can pinpoint what those issues are, figure out why you're not making the progress you want to make, figure out what issues are going on, and get back on track. It's definitely of utmost importance to brand new trainers, but definitely using video recordings for experienced trainers. I'll tell you guys right now, that is standard practice. Um,
Mhm.
you are supposed to record yourself. You are supposed to figure out what your flaws are and work on them because nobody
Um,
avoids them.
it's very true. Julie just asked about a DIY for a phone holder to videotape sessions. Honestly, Julie, I build towers out of books and boxes, and if you've got a wallet kind of phone holder, that you or a phone cover, if you just make that little tent, so if you take your phone and do this, and then you can videotape that way. I just prop it up on something, whether it's, like I said, a tower of boxes. It doesn't have to be fancy. Nobody cares.
Right. And like I'm using a tripod right now that I have used to record training sessions. I have tabletop holders for a phone, which most you can find them at most big box stores. I've seen them at dollar stores. Um, Depending on what you're willing to put into it, $5 to $10 max will get you something that'll definitely work really well. And again, yeah, just finding somewhere where you can put your phone on something. Nick just gave the really good idea of using a rubber band on your phone. You can use
Yep.
that rubber band to attach it to so many different things in your home. Um, Lori suggested a
Lori's got a
PVC.
good idea. Yeah, with the Velcro strap, I think that's a great idea. I mean, things that we've got all these things that we get our birds to land on. So we probably don't want them to land. I think I do like the PVC perch because you can, set that aside and maybe take the top part of the perch off. But if you try not to set it up where you're going to ask the bird to do something, because that just never ends well.
Right, but I mean,
So
you have so many different options for recording your training sessions. So document anything that's new, strange, different, abnormal. If you are reaching out to somebody like a behavioral consultant or a vet, um, and this is all tied to it. Robin and I regularly will give you ideas for things, and if people say, "Oh, well, that won't work for my bird," or "I'm facing this challenge," we're going to want more information. So, having as
mhm.
much information available at your disposal is going to be important. If you can record those objective interactions with your bird, if you have objective measurements of their health and well being, if you have videos showing how they interact in different situations, all of that information can be very, very helpful. So, be prepared if you have a problem and you're reaching out for assistance. Whoever you're reaching out to may want to know a little bit more about your bird. And if you have it documented and recorded, you're going to be set to go.
Right. And we talk a lot about the recording and the videotaping. But again, keeping notes. Not Julie, Terry mentioned that she keeps it in her day planner, when things happen. And it's especially when you're dealing with baby birds. I record everything. She can look back and see when something started. Maybe you see a change in behavior and someone says, when did this start? Oh, I don't know. It was a couple days. Oh, it might have been a week. So you can just open up that planner and say, oh, hey, this started on this date. So you've got real specifics that you can give whoever's trying to help you out. Or if you're trying to figure out when something, what's going on, it kind of gives you, it's like leaving clues for yourself to problems.
Right. And the way, again, going back to the study of one, where we can probably tie everything to that. The way that you document that information is going to change depending on you and your individual situation. So when I'm raising baby goats, one of the things I need to pay attention to is how often they are eating, because they do have a schedule, but sometimes they say, no, I don't want to eat at this feeding. I need to know how much they are eating. And especially if it is being divided amongst my team, where one person has the goats Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, another person has them like Thursday, Friday, being able to have those notes that can be passed from one person to the other, knowing what that information is supposed to look like, how it is supposed to be documented, that is all critically important in providing the best possible care for those animals.
That's very true. And, we've talked about a lot of kind of problems and issues and those kind of things. It's also nice to record your successes. If you're new to training and you finally I just got this, I got my animal to do this really cool behavior. So write it down and then, maintain that behavior. And if things change or something, you can go back and say, oh, okay, so like a month ago, he was doing this. And it was great. And it's changed and it's still not bad, but where did things go off track a little bit? But so recording those positive things is important too.
Yeah, one thing Robin and I have covered in a previous Friday Night Flock Talk was recording your enrichment for your animals. And
Mhm.
for me, that's a whole lot of fun, because getting to say, oh, I have to give this animal, I have to sit here and I have to watch how this animal interacts with this enrichment. One, to provide for that safety, but two, so that I can document it and make sure that I know how they're interacting with those different things. Um, it gives me the excuse to pay attention to my animals when I don't feel like doing laundry. And instead, no, I'm doing science here. I'm
Yeah.
observation and
Give
recording.
your glasses.
Oh,
Give your smart
here,
glasses.
here we go. We're ready. We're ready. I'm doing science. um, but no, oh.
It's rocket science.
No,
So,
getting to
I,
record enrichment, to me, that's a lot of fun, because then you pay attention to the things your animal's really liking, what they're interacting with. You can come up with new ideas. So, like you said, Robin, don't focus on just the problems. There's a lot of really fun things, a lot of successes that you can document as well.
so wait for this, okay? Watch
Uh
this.
oh.
So when you record things, you've got that documentation and you can document things like safety, which always comes first. And you keep individual records on your animals because it's a study of one. I just put them all together. Did you see that happen? Okay. I was impressed with myself. Anyway, so what's number 4, Jack? We're running out of time when we're on number
All right. So,
4.
number 4, plan it out. Planet, planet, planet. Um, I we have said this so many different ways. I One of my favorite ways to say it is plan your work and work your plan. Um,
Mhm.
you need to make sure that you have everything thought out, figured out. Uh, do your research. Robin and I have said that so many. We've said it multiple times tonight. Coming up with a plan for how you're going to take care of your animals is vitally important.
I mean, I can there are probably 5 or 6 different kinds of plans that we've talked about, in different sessions, different flock talk, episodes. We've talked about having a plan for before your animal comes home, so that you're not doing what?
Frantically putting everything together. One of my a thing that makes me cringe every single time I hear it is somebody brought a bird home and now, okay, yeah, no, now we're trying to figure out how to put the cage together while there is a bird who is new to your home that you don't really know and it doesn't know you, is just what, running amok through your home.
And
I,
yeah, let's be honest, putting together a cage is rocket surgery. We usually
it
say it's
really
not, it is rocket surgery. Okay, good.
how
Look at
how
that.
many different graphics for rocket surgery do we have?
That's one of our greatest hits is rocket surgery. So we probably
There we
should
go.
have should have added that to the list. So, okay, so being prepared when your animal comes home. How about a plan for medical care?
I think that's really important, and I think that's something that you need to plan out before your animal comes home. Because you need to have a plan, and you can come up with your plan with your veterinarian. You should be coming up with your plan with your veterinarian. So all of this burden isn't on you as, I have to come up with and figure out everything. No, there are plenty of resources available to offer you guidance, to offer you help for your animal. Figuring out what your animal needs in terms of quarantine, what it needs in terms of its annual vaccines, annual examinations, annual testing that your vet wants to do to make sure that your animal is staying healthy. All of those things can be planned out with your veterinarian and should be planned out with your veterinarian before you even get that animal.
Have a disaster plan. Th-
Yep.
This and Julie, that's a great suggestion. Plans for an alternate caregiver if you can't be available. That goes in my mind. That kind of goes with that. And yep, Terry, plans are going to change. But if you've got a skeleton of a plan, at least you can work the details in. And the disaster plan, I think, is crucial. You know, our disasters up here in the frozen north are different than your disasters, Jack, but we all have things that can happen a little bit. We all have things that can happen.
Right. And one of the things that we have encouraged you guys to do is to develop a resource list of people who can be helpful for you. And as far as I'm concerned, that is a critically important component of your
Mhm.
plan. Because if Robin was prepping for a disaster in, you know, the frozen Northeast, I probably do not have. I've done disaster prep. I've done presentations on disaster preparedness. But people who have experienced those type of disasters are probably going to be in a better position to help Robin for her unique set of circumstances. So developing that resource list for if you have a medical emergency, if your animal potentially gets out of your home and you need to try to find it, you could reach out to me, but if you don't live near me, I'm not going to be as helpful. So, having things
Right.
like bird clubs, bird stores around you, local groups that could help you with that is going to be much more useful. And all of that, things like emergency veterinarians, those are all going to be the kind of things that you want to have planned out and ready before you need them because it's definitely going to help with the situation and it's going to help take some of that stress off of you as well because that's already going to be a terribly stressful situation.
So Terry wants to get in on this, putting all the greatest hits together. Have an emergency essential kit, fill it out completely, and keep it updated. So part of your plan is to record things. Way to go, Terry! Nice job. Um, and what about a training plan? How many
So,
times have we talked?
having a training plan is the only way that you are going to have long-term success with training in my opinion. um, And by long term, it's a question of how you justify or you define long term success. Um, Without a training plan, you are probably going to be able to get some behaviors. You're probably going to have some small successes, but that long term ability to assess what I can get my animal to do, to push them to do things that other people don't think are possible, that only happens when you do an in depth training plan, utilizing appropriate approximations for that animal. One of the best examples that I have for this, and I keep bringing it up because every time I bring it up, I get people telling me that they don't even understand how that was possible. We've done a video with Widget towel training. And Widget is a voluntary participant in his towel training. And in the video, I broke down what each of the approximations were, how we shaped that behavior. And Widget, when he sees a towel, he'll come running up. He will jump into the towel. I can roll him up in that. And there are people who have birds who see a towel and lose their minds because previously that hasn't been handled appropriately. And even if you have a bird in that situation, you can develop a plan to get them past that. Now, that plan is going to be different. It is, again, that study of one. You have to make sure that you manage that study of one, paying attention to your individual bird, paying attention to issues like safety so that you can go ahead and move forward. You need to plan what those approximations are going to be, and you need to record them so you have the best success with your training. There, Robin, I hit all four on that one.
Nice job. Very nice. Yeah, Jack and I have been teaching Parrot Academy. Oh, there's Widget. We've been teaching Parrot Academy, and we had one of the participants who did the most incredible training plan for harness training. And it was so exciting because, I mean, she broke it down. She had, there were like mini plans within the plan. It was wonderful. And I think that's, it was a great example of how she took, I mean, and it's harness training is a challenging behavior and to work on. And she, jumped right in, and it may take her quite a while to do it, but she's got it broken down so that it's appropriate for her bird. So the training plan, I think, is one of the, again, all of the plans are important. I think it's one of the more crucial ones if you really want to get serious about training.
Yeah. So having those plans is all going to be really, really important. But our last one, I'm going to be honest, this is not so much Jack and Robin's greatest hit. This last one, I think, is Jack's greatest hit. Um, this is one of the things that I like to bring up all the time. This is actually sometimes a point of contention between me and Robin. How are you going to clean it up? Because as someone who is taking care of animals for years, um, paying attention to how you're going to clean things up definitely has an impact. Um, I'll tell you guys right now, the older I get, the less excited I am about having to bend to pick things up. The less excited I am about having to reach into the far corners of the cage to clean up bits of enrichment and things that have completely decimated an animal's enclosure. Which for so for Robin, coming at it from that enrichment approach, Robin is going to be very, very excited. She might hand your animal 5 pounds of crinkle paper and let them go to town. And look how much fun they are having with that. And as the person who's going to have to go through the next day to clean that up, no. Or
Okay, so
if
2 pounds of crinkle paper instead of 5.
that, so that is actually a change. That is something that you can do. There are ways to contain mess. I am not saying don't give your animals enrichment, don't give your animals food. You guys have seen me on here. Watching my animals interact with enrichment is one of my favorite things to do. But just try to have that plan in place for how you're going to clean things up. I promise you will thank yourself for having that foresight when it comes down to it. And there's so many different ways that you can manage that.
Well, and there's been some comments. Lori asked, "Who's cleaning up after the pomegranate?" Well, come on, Lori, take advantage of that. Record that setting and use it for your next murder mystery. I'm just saying.
I I was
And
going to say, make
Candy,
sure you record that so you can give that to CSI to prove that no, I did not actually murder somebody. Because I don't know about you guys. I give my birds pomegranate. It's like, who got blood on the ceiling? Like, what happened here?
it's true. And there's a video.
Oh,
This is this you cleaning, Jack? That's wonderful.
this is actually a video that I put together. This is one of the first videos I put together, and it was just thinking about things in different ways to make sure you're managing that cleanliness. So it's going to include things like putting paper in your at the bottom of your parrot's cage. If your parrot has a tray, I tell you guys right now, there is a way to put that paper in the tray that is easier for you to clean up. When you're positioning things like food bowls, water bowls, and perches, you want to make sure that you're avoiding putting those perches over things like the water bowl, because what do birds do off of the side of perches? They poop. And if your water bowl is right under that perch, they are pooping in your water bowl, which is
Mhm.
gross. If they're pooping on enrichment, that's going to take away the lifespan of those different enrichment items. So, we hear all the time about people that are upset because they went and they spent $80 on enrichment items and their bird's not really interacting with them. I would rather spend $80 on enrichment and have my bird not that interested in them at first than spend $80 on enrichment and have to throw those items away after a week because they're absolutely disgusting. So just paying
Right.
attention to things like that is so important.
It's kind of it's about mitigation. Let's put it that way. Candy says she doesn't mind cleaning up because it means he had fun. And that works a couple times, Candy, but let's be honest, the disaster area having to be cleaned up can become problematic and can discourage you from offering some forms of enrichment. So you want to think about, okay, the pomegranates. Yes, there's spatter everywhere. But you can put a shower curtain up around the walls on the outside of the cage, not on the cage, but along the outside, because it's going to be a mess. I don't think there are any birds that cage design 101. It's true, Eva. Think it through. Wait, I think this goes with plan it out. So how are you going to clean that up? Have a plan for how you're going to clean it up. And if you're not going to be there, record what happens so you know how it's being used. They all tie together. And I think, we've shown that tonight.
Well, and
Go
I would
ahead,
say
Jack.
your plan, again, it's that study of one. You can choose what your plan is going to be. So you can do all of these different things, physical things to make sure that you're managing that mess. Or, maybe you spend every Saturday detail cleaning your bird's cage top to bottom. You spot clean it throughout the week, but you detail clean the cage on Saturday. Well, in that instance, Friday might be a great opportunity for you to give that 5 pounds of crinkle paper because you're going to clean it up the very next morning. Whereas, maybe earlier in the week, we're going to do foot toys and we're going to do, you know, visual and auditory enrichment. We're still providing enrichment. We are still providing the best possible options for our animals to provide for that physical, mental, emotional well being, but having that plan in place so that you don't have 5 pounds of crinkle paper at the bottom of your bird's cage can be really. Robin loves crinkle paper.
Yeah, anybody that purchases an advent calendar, you're gonna love crinkle paper too. I'm just saying. But and I think one last thing on the clean it up thing, if you leave food in an enclosure, you are much more likely to have insects and rodents and things like that that can be partially avoided if you're not leaving the food in there. And the other thing is airborne and foodborne pathogens can develop if you're leaving things in there. So you want to have, a plan for how you're going to, if you offer something that's a food item, when are you going to take it out?
Right, because if you're introducing things like insect pests, rodent pests, bacterial issues, fungal issues, you are compromising the safety of your animal in that situation. So definitely make sure you're paying attention to that, paying attention to how you're going to clean things up. Having a plan for cleaning things up is going to be something that you need to tailor individually to your individual setup, but it does provide for that safety of your animals, and I can't figure out a way to record it into that one. But I think you guys have seen that
Okay.
there is a common thread between all of these things that we covered tonight. They all tie to each other. So I think if you have a better handle on each of these topics that we've covered tonight, the professional way we've called it is recurring themes in animal care. But realistically, if you guys have watched Friday Night Flock Talks, Jack and Robin's greatest hits, the things we keep talking about, there is a reason why we keep talking about them. If you manage to better yourself in these areas, you will be a better animal caretaker.
Absolutely, 100%. So that's the top 5. And I think, like Jack said, it's all throughout everything we're trying to work on with you guys. The information that we bring, even the conservation information. It may, the study of one applies there, and you may be talking about a species, but you've got to look at individuals, and so everything that we work on pretty much comes down to involving these five items. So we just wanted to kind of have some fun with this tonight, and hopefully this will help, and it'll just maybe put those little the synapses will be firing a little bit more on these different items as you go through other things with your animals. So Jack, any final words?
I love how apparently I am being tasked with going to clean things up, and Nick is calling me the new Mr. Clean.
You should probably wear your parka because Frank is up here in the frozen tundra. Just saying. Not way
I
up here, but further north than you.
No, I don't do that. I live here for a reason. I chose my climate. This is the study of one that I signed up for.
There you go. It works across the board. Um, all right. Well, guys, I think it's time to say goodnight for Friday Night Flock Talk. We will see you next Friday night. We're going to talk about traveling with your animals. As the holidays are approaching, some people are doing some road trips and traveling. So I know I'm going to be on the road. I will be in a different location next Friday night, but I there's a lot of sirens outside, and I'm not sure why. I don't know if you guys can hear that. But yeah, so we're going to talk about, they're not going to let me leave. We're going to talk about traveling with your animal and how you can make that easier and less stressful. So you guys take care. And Jack, anything to add?
No, I want to thank you guys all so much for coming out, for being a part of these Friday Night Flock Talks. We encourage you guys to sign up for, or rather to come out every single Friday, sign online, chat, be a part of it, because one, if you have any questions, you can ask those questions. We can provide the kind of information that you guys want to see. Again, if there are any topics, any particular types of animals you would like us to cover, please comment on the video. Please send us a message. Let us know what you would like to see us cover. You guys do also have different experiences from me and Robin. So you can help provide
Mhm.
those different pieces of information. Because Robin and I will tell you right now, we don't know everything. We don't have every piece of experience. We haven't done every single thing. Um, but we can help connect people in different ways. And it also just makes it so much fun for us being able to talk to you guys every single Friday. So, again, I probably don't say this enough, but I really do want to just say thank you all so much for being a part of the Friday Night Flock Talks.
That
With
is just terrifying. So we do want to thank you guys. It's a lot of fun for us, and it's even more fun when you have that feedback and input. And so have a wonderful week. We will see you next Friday, and we'll talk about traveling and making it less stressful. Take care, everyone. Have a good night.